18 hours, 3 hours, I managed to finish the entire book. So dear friends, in the outlines of the book is already discussed, and our honorable editor sir, his thoughts and ideas, mission and vision about the books and Gali as evolution from the ancient time in India in the Sanskrit language or our Sanskriti. Gali was not a part of abuse, misnomer. It's a type of correcting someone, and during the medieval period or during the middle age, it changed, it evolved. So in both aspects, in both stages, it was the introductory part, and I would like to discuss from the chapter 2 to chapter 11 one by one each author. Thank you so much. Let me start with the chapter 2. Am I audible, friends?
Yes, sir.
Gali for all time, all people. Author Aditi Mekhani. Ms. Mekhani opens the student's contribution with a major theological confidence. Her central argument is that Gali, conventionally understood as destructive language, carries latent Ayurvedic philosophical intelligence when consciously reframed. She anchors her Galia in the sattvic aspiration for harmonious communication, demonstrating how phrases targeting digestive weaknesses, Agni impairment, carry genuine clinical relevance. Her signature contribution is implying Varsha Ritu as the optimal pharmacological context for digestive bulia and Galia. Grounded in Ayurvedic understanding of heightened peak imbalance and diminished Jahragni during this season, her reasoning is cogent and her application disciplined. Thank you. Chapter 3, Sensational Ayurvedic Gali, authored by Vishal Kumar. Mr. Kumar contributes the volume's most anatomically precise chapter. He structures his Galia around the Panch Gyanendriya, 5 cognitive senses and sensory organs, and the Sapdhatu framework, Ras, Rakt, Mas, Majja, Asthi, Med and Shukra, targeting each tissue layered with diagnostic specificity. His Galia, referring and refreshing diminished Majja Dhatu, demonstrates genuine clinical understanding of Vatic disorders, joint vulnerability, neurological instability, and the cascading physiological consequences of bone marrow depletion. Mr. Kumar calibrates each verbal prescription to the appropriate Ritu, recommending Varsha Ritu for marrow-directed Galia. This chapter functions as applied pharmacology of speech, a notable intellectual achievement for a student scholar. Chapter 4 deals with the imbalancing Dosh Gali by Raja Kumar. Raja Kumar adopts a comprehensive Tridosh approach, constructing Galia that address Vat, Pit and Kapha, imbalances within the single verbal formulation. His idiosyncratic contribution lies in invoking the Sapdhatu system holistically, arguing that a generally effective Gali disrupts all three doshas simultaneously at the same time, producing a systematic diagnostic alert within the recipient's physiology. His Gali, refreshing 6 tests, Sharas, is particularly inventive, targeting Ras Dhatu, derangement at its most fundamental metabolic level, and suggesting the recipient will lose capacity to identify and test whatever. His seasonal and affective calibration demonstrate sound grounding in classical Ayurvedic texts. Chapter 5 deals with the Ayurvedic Gali, authored by Charvi. Mr. Charvi Singh chapter is distinguished by its personal narrative precision. She targets a specific individual, a conference colleague whose Vat imbalance generates disruptive, incessant speech. Her Gali prescribing downward expulsion, that is adhos veg, as corrective therapy is simultaneously harmonious and clinically informed, reflecting sound understanding of Vas, governing role over speech and motor impulse. Her recommendation that the target consume extremely spicy onion immediately before the conference, amplifying pith and inducing physiological discomfort, demonstrates situational and therapeutical precision. Her chapter proves that Ayurvedic Gali operates at the productive intersection of clinical diagnosis and contextual social intelligence. Chapter 6 that deals with Ayurvedic Gali by Bhavini. Ms. Bhavini structures her chapter around the Ayurvedic clock, the diurnal cycle being the governing cough, pith and vat, dominance across day and night. Her Galiyan are calibrated to these temporal windows, arguing that a pith cutting Gali delivered during the pith and peak pith hours carry substantially greater pharmacological potency. Her 5 Galiya address aggression, laziness, overconfidence, hair loss through sheer vulnerability and excessive anger, each paired to its ideal dosh, ritu and time of delivery. Her formulation of words in terms biophysical chemistry of language is a conceptually valuable contribution that warrants further theoretical development in future scholarship and research. Chapter 7 discusses Ayurvedic Gali, authored by Govind Kumar Saha. Mr. Saha's chapter commands bilingual scholarly fluency, moving between Hindi vernacular and classical Ayurvedic pathology with confidence. His 5 Galiyan address Shwas Rog, pulmonary inflammation, creaming, intestinal parasitic infection, Tridosh, aggravation, Mastiksha, that is cognitive decline, and complete Tridosh Dhatu contamination. Each is supported by classic pathological reasoning, citing yoga, pranayam, and a specific herbal intervention including Brahmi, Shankpushpi, and Jatamasi as corresponding corrective prescriptions. With the inclusion of Mastiksha as simultaneously a diagnostic Gali and a serious clinical condition reveals Ayurvedic maturity that elevates his contribution considerably above the merely creativity. Chapter 8 deals with the Tridosh Ayurvedic Gali, contributed by Amy Arya Roy. Mr. Roy chapters achieves admirable economy of expression. Her defining Gali, threatening simultaneous disruption of vat, pith and cough, is the volume's most universally applicable formulation, suited to all prakritiya and all seasons. Her conceptual insight lies in recognizing that a Tridosh Gali bypasses individualized diagnosis altogether, functioning as a universal collective instrument of elegant efficiency. Her self-reflective engagement with her own vat, pith, prakriti demonstrates a sophisticated understanding that Ayurvedic self-knowledge is the essential prerequisite for delivering any effective and ethical Gali. In continuation, chapter 9, bittersweet Ayurvedic Gali by Tanusha Pundir. Pundir's chapter is among the most personally textured contributions. She directs her Gali towards a younger sibling whose pith imbalance manifests as a chronic rudeness and emotional volatility. Her opening Gali, prescribing Madhur Ras, that is sweet taste, to temper a habitually sharp tongue, is grounded in the classical Charak Samhita principle that Madhur Ras pacifies pith prakop or Shuk Asthan 41.6. Her second Gali addresses hyperactive vat, recommending stillness as corrective medicine. Her seasonal analysis identified Sharat Ritu as the optimal delivery period for pith-directed Galiyan. Pundir's domestic application of Ayurveda Gali demonstrates convincingly that therapeutical verbal correction is an relevant within the framework of the family as within the clinic. And in the continuation, chapter 10 discusses Sapdhatu Ayurvedic Gali, that is contributed by Shrestha Srivastav. Srivastav's contribution engages the Sapdhatu system with the greatest classical rigorous in the volume. Her foundational Gali wishing that the targets Gatlagni tissue metabolic fire weakens such that nutrition reaches no bodily tissue, initiates a theoretically coherent pathological cascade through ras, rakt, mas, med, asthi, majja and shukla, culminating in systematic physiological collapse. Her chapter functions simultaneously as verbal prescriptions, as a master class in Ayurvedic tissue physiology, achieving a rare dual purpose with commendable scholarly precision to base. And last chapter deals with daily ritual written Ayurvedic Gali by Arpita Arya. Miss Arpita Arya closes the volume with a chapter anchored in Dincharya, daily Ayurvedic routine, and Ritucharya, that is seasonal regimen. Her Galian target violations of the daily rhythms, arguing persuasively that disruptions of Dincharya constitutes a primary disease vector in Ayurvedic pathology. Her self-assessment of her own Vata Prakriti and her candid admission that her Ahar remains considerably more deviant than her Dincharya makes the chapter authentic credibility. Her commitment to incremental realignment with the Prakriti carries wide moral authority, closing the volume on the note of the personal and the pedagogical integrity. So at the conclusion, I would like to say that Ayurvedic Gali is a remarkably original intervention in Ayurvedic pedagogical discourse, where classical texts codify the ethics of a speech and modern works explore Ayurvedic psychology. This volume occupies a wholly distinctive intellectual space, bridging a street vernacular with Shastric wisdom, reviving Guru Shishya Parampara and pedagogy in the age of artificial intelligence (AI), and constructing a replicable model for training what the editor memorably calls linguistic birth. The volume's Ayurvedic critical table of behavioral elements, mapping Dosha to high peak, Mur to high cup, and Papi to Mansik arm, constitutes a genuine conceptual innovation, and scholars across medicinal and medical humanities, linguistic anthropology, and Indic pedagogy will productive develop. This volume is not without its question. The ethical risk of the popularizing abusive speech or Gali, even therapeutically reframes, merit more systematically discussed than the book currently offers. The boundary between the corrective Gali of Ayurveda and harmful verbal aggression remains at times productively ambiguous. They are tension the book opens rather than resolve, and they represent an invitation to further scholarship rather than a limitation of this one. So the editor, Professor Balram Singh sir, and his students scholars have produced not merely a book but a cultural intervention of genuine